Somebody said that this wine bottle is oddly placed, and I would completely agree that it's just sitting here.
Oh, like in your corner. It should be in my corner, man.
Well, I'm just the idea that it's just sitting here in general. It's just like, why do we have it there?
Yep.
I think people don't realize that a lot of this stuff is stuff that actually came from, clients that, got little.
You know what that one?
They dropped by.
You know what that one actually is? I kept it. Everything's got a story in this place.
Tell me the story of your wine bottle.
That is the first bottle that I used on Wine and Wealth. The very first Wine and Wealth I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's a good wine. I've never had it.
It's phenomenal.
Okay.
I bought it because I didn't know any better. I was like, okay, that's the one I like. Milton Park. They changed the label since then, but
all right.
For the price, probably $14-15 now.
Oh.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal? I've had a $14 or $15 wine. That's not,
It'll blow your face hairs off.
Face hairs off? Okay. Right.
Blow your face hairs off. Hey, welcome to FinTips special edition with Eric here hanging out. This is kind of our relaxing time that we make a quick video for you guys, and he's always got coffee for some reason, but
always.
We are here to talk about, what are we going to talk about, Eric? Right as he takes a drink.
Yeah, I wanted to have my coffee to get my energy back, get this going. So we'll talk about some instant regrets, or what did you say the commercial was?
Regrets, man. It's like a Geico commercial where the guy gets a tattoo. No regrets. That's what it says.
I haven't seen that, but it's kind of ironic. I actually have a tattoo, one tattoo, and there's instant regret from that, and I've yet to get another tattoo. So yeah, the regrets in retirement though, and the idea that people are retiring and you can make some really stupid moves if you're not careful that you are going to regret. And I've even got I got a story I can tell with this stuff.
I got a fun first one. The number one regret is when people retire. Like everybody, it's not a regret, but you kind of think for a second. I'm obviously not retired, but through the clients that we've gone through that retire, they always go, should I have done that? It's always like, did I just make a big mistake?
Well, it's almost like buyer's remorse, but it's retirement remorse.
Exactly.
So that's not one though. That wasn't.
No, we won't count that one. I was just thinking.
I'm actually looking here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I could talk about on this. So just to give you an idea, 7 different topics we could talk about.
Touch on them, man. Hit them.
We might have all 7. I think the biggest one is something. Men, you were notorious for this. I will admit it. And that's the fancy car. Everybody wants that cool fancy car. You hear from people, hey, I'm retired now. I'm going to go get this Corvette, that dream car. The new Corvettes came out. A lot of people love those. And it's like, you have the liquidity, but you haven't built the plan to make sure you can account for that major expense. Mm-hmm. You go and you grab this thing, and what's going to end up happening is it could definitely bite you in the backside of this, the backside of retirement, that is.
Well, thankfully for me, I got that out of my way in my 20s, so I won't be having that issue. It was one of those things. You're 20, you want the fancy car, you get it, and nobody cares. It's like, okay, I didn't actually really like this thing. So that's a good one.
Yep.
That's certainly a good one.
Yeah, then I think another one is something I've seen quite a bit, and that's the dream home. Everybody works their whole life, they sacrifice, they get the kids out of the house, and it's like, you know what? We're going to go build our dream home.
It's popular right now, especially if you're building, a lot of people build a property with like a tiny home or something on it, and the mindset is, we're going to rent it out or something. You can only rent out so many tiny homes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I actually had clients do that, building their dream home, barn-dominium sort of thing. You park your airplane in there. And,
yeah. Yep. It's not that it's a bad idea. Again, it goes back to the planning, because people are coming from the state. The great examples right now, we're in Florida. Yeah. Everybody seems to be retiring to Florida. It's a very popular thing. Texas and Florida both don't have a state tax, and you're jumping to states like that, so you're not having to pay extra in retirement years. You're taking money. Let's say you're coming from New York. You're taking this money. You sold your home. You can get a lot more bang for your buck down here than you could in New York. The problem, though, is you're not taking into consideration all the other added expenses that do come into play. Potentially higher tax rates. So many people want the Gulf home or the waterfront home, but they don't think about flood insurance.
Oh, you're going to pay for it down here too.
And yeah, so there's things that have to be thought about, and not just do the knee-jerk reaction. Hey, I'm retired, I'm doing this. I mean, so many people I hear of, they say they literally, I've retired, this is what I'm doing. And it's like, look, I don't want to tell you not to do that, but I do want to give you the actual financial numbers to make sure that it's a good decision to do that.
Can I be the weird guy this is not marketing, but it is weird to talk to people and they say there's a guy there's a name for a traveling sailboat trip that you take. It goes all the way around. He's going to do this sailboat thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I had just talked to another client that said they wanted to do the same thing, much further out in time. But it's always cool to be talking with someone and say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And just to add that value, right? Because then they go, oh, yeah, no, I haven't thought about that. How do we strategize around that? I love that part. That sounds like a sales pitch, but it really is not, because we talk to so many people. Someone's buying an airplane. Someone wants to go to that camp where you get to be a baseball star for a week or something like that. I think it's the Detroit Tigers that do that. And so it's like, okay, well, let's plan for it. By the way, I had a friend go to that, so let me tell you how it works. I think that stuff's so cool. So just little things to think about there.
Yeah, it's all planning. The sailboat thing you're talking about, I believe I was looking at as the Great Loop.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Great
Yep,
Loop.
the Great Loop. I have a couple clients that are strategizing. One is very close to doing it, and the other that's just a bucket,
Yeah, I actually dream of that. I've never been sailing, but I want the cabin cruiser, and to be able to go, even if it's not the Great Loop, but just to be able to travel around, maybe stop in different areas, park the boat, stay for a couple nights, and then go again. That sounds to me like, that does sound like retirement, but you got to have the plan. So another one that so many people want to do, but they haven't thought through, is vacation home. Everybody has the idea, that you have a separate home. And it's fine that you have the separate home if you can afford it, but there's the idea now with, having the vacation home and at least being able to rent it out. So making sure that you can cash flow this thing versus just jumping into a home, because again, you have extra expenses, you have all these things coming in, but realize too that the vacation home is nice, but it does limit you, because now you have this vacation home you feel obligated to always go to. Now you got Airbnb, you have all these other cool opportunities that you can bounce around. I literally just talked with this yesterday with a client who was talking about that, and they said they aren't buying the vacation home just for that reason. Now there's so many opportunities they would rather go and do. And so people jump into that vacation home, current markets may not be a good opportunity because it's not as liquid either. You get in, you want to get out, you might be sitting on this thing for a while depending on where rates go and what ends up happening.
And by the way, a little tough love here. The Airbnb thing, that's real work, right? Everybody gets sort of humbled by that. You buy the vacation home and you're like, I'm going to stay there for 4 weeks out of the year, and then we'll rent it out. And even if we can cover the mortgage payment, that's fine. That is real work to put it up there, strategize, get your listing high enough, get the cleaning crew there. All of that, people find out, is, whoa, it's not like TikTok where it's like, I made $155,000. You can, but somebody really worked at that. So that's the old punch in the butt there.
Yeah, there's actually a science to it, I've learned.
That's Doug.
A friend of mine does it, and he's got it, and it's all about just what you say. I can't remember the terms, but it's basically getting way up there, getting the right reviews, doing all these things so that you're recommended.
Pushing for those reviews, soliciting the reviews, everything. Oh, it's work.
Yeah, that's a big one. So another one I have on the list here, this one's tough. I talked about this the other day in video too. Kids. Your kids and literally just the expense of children and wanting to do what's best for the children, and
who are likely somewhat adults or adults by the way.
Absolutely. But then I've heard the story a million times. It's like, well, but I remember those years when we struggled, when we had young kids and stuff, and it's great to be able to help them, but there's a point where you're helping them to a point where you're hindering yourself and you can't do anything, and how much are they truly appreciating it? Now, this is coming from someone, I have a lot of pride when it comes to not wanting to take handouts. That's just me. It's how I've always been.
Yeah, give me the stuff. No, just kidding.
Well, and you do have to, sometimes say, hey, don't knock the blessing. But the idea of sometimes some kids that are out there, maybe if you got one or not, but they're always welcoming the money. Be careful with that. You can love your children, but you're potentially hurting them as well by just giving them the handouts, not making sure that they're really working for it.
Or think it through a little bit, right? So I tend to go on the geeky side of this, and somebody says, well, I don't care what you think, Dustin, I'm going to give money to kids. Okay, well, let's try to think about it. Like maybe gift them some low basis stock. All right, let them deal with it. Then the onus is on them to say, I know I got to cash it out, I'll have to pay taxes. Maybe I won't cash the whole thing out. Think like that, just, instead of just saying, here's cash that I withdrew from my IRA, try to make an advantage for you as well, if you're going to just do it anyways.
Yep, no, without a doubt. All right, I know you had a couple. I've got one more. Do you want to go with your two real quick? Or you want me to?
I'll do it. All
right.
So this is not a physical thing, but a lot of people regret converting dollars that ultimately they find out that they're not going to use in their lifetime. We show that so much in Nest Egg, where someone says, I want to get on a plan to convert. It's always when the Roth is too large or the amount that you need to convert is too large over your projected lifespan. So people end up finding out, oh, I can convert and look at all this money that I'll have 100% tax-free, but you'll never actually spend it. So when we look through their cash flows, we find out, that's the case. You're not going to spend it. If you have money in a Roth and you convert money from an IRA, that money goes to the back of the account, right? So at the back of the account, you can't say, oh, the end of the year, I made 7%. No, these dollars didn't make 7%. So think in that term right there. Like if someone tells you to do a conversion, show me that I do it for a reason that saves me taxes, of course, but that I will spend those dollars. So many people find out they do a conversion. I go, you're not actually going to spend the money that you converted. It'll go on to your kids or whatever. A reasonable thing to do, but make sure that you're doing it for that right reason. If you don't want your kids to have any money, what's the point in doing the conversion?
Yeah, I see so many people. They jump into these conversions and they don't even realize the
it's
cost.
Sexy. Yeah.
It's kind of become the new hot item with financial planning. Hey, we're all going to convert our money, and it's like, well,
it's the buzzword too. Like when the markets fall, the buzzword is conversions, right, or tax loss harvesting. Mm-hmm. So it becomes this thing where we think we have to do it. In reality, if you're not going to spend the money and you haven't offset the tax consequence, then leave it there. We leave that to your kids and you spend the Roth money. The second one is very simple. When the bucket strategy, everybody, the bucket strategy. I want to have 3, maybe 4 buckets. People don't often look deeper into that, and what they'll do is they'll use their accounts as buckets and not dollars. So remember that from way back, whenever this came out to be, the bucket strategy is dollars in a bucket, not Roth IRA in this bucket, IRA in this bucket, and so on. So you want to figure out, hey, if I'm pulling out $50,000 in a year, well, maybe you want to keep your income as low as possible so that Social Security doesn't get taxed. Was it $34,000? So you might say, on paper, I'd like to have $34,000. Okay, well, that means we use the Roth and the IRA. That's one bucket. It's a pile of cash, not a specific account, right? So just think of it that way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, so many people try to space it out, and that create mistakes too.
And that's the fun part, by the way, is to tell somebody, okay, you have X number of dollars, we need a year. Watch how we take the money out so you actually end up with more dollars rather than just spend a year on your IRA and a year on your Roth or whatever it is you decide to do. I like that stuff.
Yeah, and then the final one, so this is actually number 8 because you started with another one that wasn't even on the list.
We give you more here
so
at
we
Jazz.
said 5. Now we're 8, so let's see how we're going to title this thing, I guess. We'll figure that out. But the last one is the pipe dream business. So I actually know somebody who did just this, and they cashed out all of their retirement assets because they retired. They had all this money. They talked to somebody, and they say, hey, you know what? Yep, this is all going to work out. They bought into this business. It was going to be the family business. They'll eventually step away, but the business will continue to provide income. And unfortunately, it all fell apart. They had 0 management skills when it came to operating the business. And now that person is continuing to work when they should have been retired a long time ago. And I've heard this a lot. So it's one of those that you just have to really strategize to make sure you're making a wise decision. But taking all of what you ever worked for to hope to achieve this business and catch up on lost time is a true danger and instant regret once something doesn't work out as you had hoped.
That's a tough one because I am when someone calls up or they email and they say, I need to take out $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is for something that they're doing, going back to school or whatever, I'll always say, bet on yourself. I agree with you. Bet on yourself as long as you can trust yourself, because it sounds like in that case they bet on themselves, and I would have pushed them to do it. And it just said, you go for it. Who would you rather bet on, right? Bet on yourself. But I would have said as well, make sure you can trust yourself. If you don't have the ability to learn, the willingness to learn, the desire, the drive, the motivation, all that, then keep in mind the risk that you're taking. So I would take a different approach, but I would still feel bad for them because I would say, just, hey, bet on yourself. Just make sure you can trust yourself. And hopefully that got them thinking like, you know what? I don't like learning about how to manage people. It turns out I may be not even interested in doing this business with a family member or whoever it is. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I think it's really going into something like that and having the plan A, plan B, because it's the educated risk-taking concept versus just saying, you know what, I'm going to take everything that I've ever worked for, jump into something, and go right in and all in.
Yep.
Really analyze this, look at the options here, and ask yourself, because I always like to tell people, let's look at this from both sides here, because there's the option where everything works out and goes just as planned. But 9 times out of 10, that never happens in life anyways. We could plan out anything, and it's not going to go that way. So then you take the step back, and then you say, okay, what if it doesn't work? What are you going to do? And that's, as long as somebody is comfortable saying, hey, you know what, this is everything I've ever wanted. I get one life. I want to make that decision. Go for it. But realize, as long as you're comfortable with realizing that if it completely fails, welcome to Walmart. You got to go back to work.
Oh man, I hope you can say hi. Welcome to Walmart.
So you got to realize you got to go back to work.
Well, there's so many examples. We could do a video just on giving examples of clients, because I was going to mention. So we actually have I have two clients where one is buying the other half of the business from the other. This was fascinating because you're having two separate conversations, and I'm like, I'm out of the negotiation, but how does this all work? Yeah. Well, the person that wanted to buy the shares from the other one had this great idea, and I listened for a while, and actually my answer was no, no, God, no. And all I really said was, let me see if I can show you this direction, and if this makes more sense in your head, let's do this, because you now have a safety net, versus they wanted to take all their money and kind of take from their home and do all this. And so if you don't have to do that, and not to sound marketing wise, but if I could call Goldman Sachs and make something happen for you, then why would you want to take from your pile? At least for now. Now he can, work his way back, but now he's in for essentially 20% of what he was going to have to put in, obviously all of it, and we're going to get it done. Think it through. Just ask somebody. If you're one of our clients, just ask us, is what I'm doing the most efficient way to do it? I'm going to do it, but is it the most efficient way to do it? And see what we have to say,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all you can do. Just make sure you're talking through these things, because these are things we don't want you to have the regret. That's what it all boils down to. We want you to make sure you enjoy retirement years. You have you've worked all this time. You deserve it. But you also want to make sure we get you through retirement, and you don't have to go back to work or anything else.
And I will throw the marketing pitch in there that so we are younger, and when you retire, if we give you the green light to retire, you could just drive your little butt down here, slam on the door, and come on in and go, you told me I could retire, turns out I can't. We take that seriously, right? Because we're going to be around through the rest of your retirement. So if you want to work with us, jazzwealth.com, you know how to find us there. But more importantly, we're trying to grow the YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber, if you'll hit subscribe, you can even turn off the alerts if you don't want, because we do a lot of videos. But we're just trying to grow the channel. So if we helped you in some way, maybe you'll help us. Hit the subscribe button, and don't worry about all the other stuff. We're good to go there. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. We'll see you next time. And thanks for all the comments, by the way. Good comments out there, and have a great rest of your Friday. Adios.